So, hello everybody. My name is André SOBCZAK. I'm professor at Audencia Nantes School of Management, and I have the pleasure to welcome you to our first live session of the Audencia MOOC on CSR and value creation. For this first live session, we have two guests. First of all, we have Pauline Soudier, who is Corporate Engagement Officer at WWF France. Hello, Pauline.
Hi, everybody.
And in a few minutes, we will also have Kai Hockerts, who is Professor in Social Entrepreneurship at Copenhagen Business School, who will also join us. If you want to interact with us and have the possibility to ask us some questions, you have to connect via YouTube, and you have to use your Gmail account. And we will have 45 minutes together in order to ask all the questions relevant to the first week of our MOOC. The first week, as you have seen when you have started to work with us, it's about how to integrate CSR in the strategy of your company or your organization. And for this, we thought that it would be interesting to have the possibility to interact with myself, because I'm in charge of this MOOC and I have been doing a lot of research on CSR and CSR in company strategies. A professor from another business school in Denmark, because Denmark is also a country where you have a lot of interesting initiatives in the field of CSR, and an NGO, WWF, who is a strategic partner of Audencia for now 5 years. And maybe, Pauline, you can present yourself and tell us a bit about WWF and why you decided to partner with companies.
Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Pauline Soudier. I work in the corporate engagement team in WWF France for 7 months now. So a few words about WWF. We are an international NGO present in about 100 countries, and we act every day to protect biodiversity and ecosystem. So why we work with companies? We worked in two different ways with company, either in sponsorship contracts, or we work with companies that want to reduce their environmental footprint and that want to implement environmental strategy linked with their core business. So I will give you example of company that we work with. We work, for example, with Michelin, which is a French tire company, and that want to implement sustainable natural rubber certification. We work also with Davigel, for example, which is a subsidiary of Nestlé that sells fresh and frozen food. And with them we work on responsible fishing. So we have many different partners, like around 50, and with them we work to improve their environmental engagement.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you select companies, or maybe how companies select you? How does the relationship usually start? Do you have a particular strategy to target certain companies, certain sectors in line with
Actually, we have a strategy inside WWF, which is the market transformation initiative. It's a strategy that focuses on big company. There are like 500 companies in the world that do really have an impact on environment and on nature. So we work with this kind of company to reduce their environmental footprint. And how we do that, we work on their supply chain. So we try to change the way they supply, and then we think that if we change that, we will change the way producer produce and also the way consumer consume. So we really try to target this kind of company, and it can be company in the food field or in many different fields, in clothes field, in fashion. So very many different kind of company.
So, and once you have decided that you want to work with a company, I guess you try to contact them and to see whether they have maybe already a CSR or sustainability strategy, and then you start to negotiate.
Yeah, in fact, so either it's companies that come to see us because they're really involved in an improvement engagement, so they want to improve their environmental engagement. So they come to see us and see how we can cooperate. Or it's companies that we target because we see that this company is really important for us to work with us. So we contact them through, it's quite simple actually, it's through an email, a call. We try to meet them. We meet them in a first meeting. We present them the strategy of WWF and how we think we could work together on their environmental stake. And we also try to show them that their environmental stake is linked with their core business, because that's what really interests them actually.
I can see that we have some of the participants of the MOOC that are already online via YouTube. So for all those who watch us, don't hesitate to interact and to ask some questions to Pauline, to myself, of course. So you negotiate, and once you have created this partnership, how do you interact? I guess it's ongoing relationship with the CSR managers, maybe with the purchasing team as well. Could you explain a little bit? Because you are quite small team, you are a big NGO worldwide, but I think in France you're about less than 100 people.
Yeah, exactly. We are around 80 people in France, and we are around 5,000 in all the world. We have 100 offices in 100 different countries. But how do we interact with company? Actually, we have a contract with them. So in the contract, it's written what we are going to do with the company. And what we try to do is to plan a strategy to reach some objectives. So it's really important to have objectives that have to be reached at the end of the partnership actually. And so what we do is that we are in contact mostly with the purchase officer, or sometimes with the CEO, even the CEO, because sometimes the CEO is really involved in the environmental strategy of the company, so they want to be directly in contact with us.
Yeah, and the role of the CEO is crucial in many things, because a lot of strategic decisions have to be made by the CEO himself.
In fact,
in my research, I have worked a lot on the role of NGOs, and in particular WWF, on CSR strategies of companies, and I have really understood that working together with an NGO is something which really enables the company to make progress on their CSR strategy. For the participants of the MOOC, you have seen that CSR can be analyzed as a learning process, because no company is perfect on all social and environmental issues. Involving stakeholders is also something which has to be improved all the time. And in order to make progress on this process, it's very interesting to interact with all different stakeholders, because they can help you to fix targets, just as Pauline explained, and also to go faster, because sometimes the knowledge that you need to make progress on CSR is maybe already in the hands of the NGO, because at WWF, for example, you have good teams that are specialists of biodiversity and so on. So I guess the companies are also looking for this kind of expertise.
Yes, for sure. In WWF, we have many experts: forest experts, palm oil experts, soy experts. So it's experts that work on commodities and that can really advise company about which kind of behave to have. So company, when they come to see us, they really look for someone that can advise them to improve their engagement. And we are here to help them to identify which are their environmental stake, and how it can be linked with their daily business.
Okay, we have a first question from the participants of this live sessions, and I also see that Kai Hockert, professor in social economy from Copenhagen Business School, has joined us. Kai, can you hear us? We can see your picture, but I'm not sure that you can hear us, but of course don't hesitate to step in. The first question we have is about what we just mentioned about the role of the CEO. We said that the CEO plays an important role to develop the CSR strategy, but if the CEO is not really aware or convinced that CSR is something good, how can the CSR manager try to convince him and make progress? It's a question from Mr. Girard from France.
Actually, if the CEO is not convinced, usually they won't work with us. But how to convince a CEO? I think it's to show him that CSR is linked with business, that they really have there is really a business stake in the environmental stake. So every company is involved, has a stake with environment, and I think that most of the stake are linked with the core business of the company. It's just necessary to show that to the CEO and to convince him in this way.
Yeah, and this is also what our participants can see through the videos of the first week, because we really show that CSR is something which doesn't go against economic performance or economic competitiveness, but on the contrary, it's something which can be a way to get access to new markets. It can be a way of having closer relations with your customers. It's also a way to attract, of course, your employees, and so more and more companies and CEOs, of course, understand that CSR can really be a driver to reinvent new business models as well, because sometimes by integrating new constraints, social or environmental constraints, maybe it gives people new ideas to launch new products, new services. It's certainly not something which is easy. But companies who start this learning process have usually a good experience with it.
And also we can see some companies, they base their business on one product, and if this product is not renewable, if this product disappears because of bad environmental activity, then all the business will disappear. I take an example. For example, a company that is focused on fish, that produce fish products. If we use every fish that are on the ocean and there is no fish anymore, then all the business company will collapse. So it's necessary to have a responsible way of fishing. And that's what we promote.
Of course. We have a second question from Poland. They would like to know from you, Pauline, how you actually help companies to make progress on CSR and to embed CSR in the strategy. Is it via seminars that you organize with your experts? Is it via meetings among different companies that are your partners? Can you explain a little bit more about how you help these companies?
Actually, we organize seminar that able company to meet around a topic, so we present a topic and company can meet with each other to see how another one improve its activity, its engagement. So there is this kind of activity, but also it's a daily relation with our experts, with us. So it's every day we are in contact with them, and once we have identified their stake, we try to implement a strategy, and we work with them every day to improve it and to put it in place.
Mm. There's a third question, I think it's from Italy. Somebody asked us what could be done if a company and the CEO and the top management think more that they have to comply with certain elements in the field of CSR, social regulation, environmental legislation, but they don't really want to go further and see it as an opportunity. I don't know whether you have some ideas on this. Personally, I would say that it's important to highlight that the legislation will change over time, and more there will be different pressures on companies that will and make it mandatory for everybody to make progress anyway. And as you mentioned before, you have to probably have a long-term perspective and not just see the short-term legislation that is there, but to see a company should normally be there for many decades. And if you overexploit your natural resources that are part of your core business, then you will not be able to survive.
Yeah. And I could add also that there is an expectation from consumer, because we can see that people want more and more green products. So if you don't adapt your activity in this way, I think you will miss a market, actually. And it can be a very good competitive advantage to have a green strategy.
Okay. We have more and more participants of our MOOC, so I'm very happy to welcome you. It's huge success because we have people from all over the world, even from Vietnam. I think it's maybe one of our alumni, Florence. If you're really with us, it's very a pleasure for me. Somebody, Christophe from France, asked you again, Pauline, about what you do if you have targeted a company that you really think has a crucial impact and that is not really convinced about CSR. Do you have these kinds of examples, and what would you do?
We have this kind of example every day, and it's really difficult then to enter in contact with them. What we would do is just to, if we can't enter through the door, we will enter through the window. And we will try to connect with them, I don't know, through mails, telephone, then meetings, conferences where they are. We will try to be there. But if they really don't want, we will try to find another actor that has the same stake and that we can, with whom we can work and will have the same impact.
Yeah, because you're also part of several alliances and networks where you work with other NGOs, be it environmental ones, but also I guess you interact with trade unions or maybe also sometimes public authorities in order to see how you can push companies.
Of course. Yeah, we have a lobby strategy also for the public authorities. So we have many different ways to interact with companies and to make them evolve.
Mm. We have another comment. In the first week of the MOOC, we are also talking a lot about how CSR can be a tool to reduce your risks, limit risks. And Vincent, who is one of the participants, says that he has been working with many companies, and he says that often CSR is driven by risk managers. So they have a rather financial-oriented vision of CSR, and it's the case. And it can also bring some added value, because if you have the financial risk managers that say that CSR is something where you don't have the choice, you need to do it. Maybe sometimes you may be frustrated and say, well, if they only do it to reduce their financial risks, maybe it's not something which is linked to ethical values. But on the other hand, maybe it's very pragmatic. What would be your point of view to this? Do you expect that companies that work with you are really, I don't know, environmental activists and they really want to change the world? Or would you also work with companies that say, well, they do it because it's something which just reduces their financial risk or opens them new opportunities? It's also very difficult, of course, to know because people do not necessarily explain what is their interest.
Of course. No, actually, WWF, we are very pragmatic. We are really, we work with companies, so we are aligned uh, with their interests and with with their business. I mean, you can't work with company if you are just expecting from them that there are activists or no. I think you should be very pragmatic, and that's the position we have. And I think the risk, if you can work with company on the risk approach. Why not? Because then I think it will have a very good impact on the business of the company.
Yeah, it's true. And you mentioned also it's not only a financial risk, it can be a risk, as you said, that your natural resources will disappear.
Yes.
Or your whole business model will disappear with the natural resources, fishes, for example. Some of the participants were asking for some concrete examples of a success you recently managed to join with one of your partners. Do you have an example in mind where you said, really, we made a partnership and I'm really proud of what we achieved together?
Yeah, we have a partnership with Michelin, which is a French tire company, and with them we work on sustainable natural rubber. We try to implement, as you know, Michelin, they use rubber for their tire, so they use artificial rubber and natural rubber. And with natural rubber, there is a stake which is deforestation. Because in Indonesia, for example, people that cut and burn the forest to plant either palm to produce palm oil or rubber. So we work with Michelin to reduce this deforestation, and with them we work to implement a sustainable way to grow rubber. So it's not finished yet, but we are really in a good way to do that, and I think it's going to be a real success because if we manage to engage Michelin to sustain in sustainable natural rubber only, you should know that Michelin is the second biggest actor on the tire market in the world, so it's really a big actor. So if we change Michelin behave, we will manage to change all the market behave, and that could be a really good success.
Yeah, this is also an answer that replies to a question that has emerged about how you select again the companies, but you already answered to it in the beginning. And again, you make the example that you try to work with the leaders that have an impact on the whole sector afterwards. I also think about Sodexo because, as I said, we have a partnership also between Audencia and WWF, and each year we have a conference for all our new students explaining what is the added value of creating a partnership. And I remember that you came together with the CSR manager and supply chain manager of Sodexo. And I remember that she explained that they set up very ambitious targets on the reduction of CO2 emissions, related probably to negotiations on climate change. This is also something I think you can probably push companies to be even more ambitious in their targets for climate change.
Of course. Actually, that's one of the aim also to reduce their impact on climate change. And we have an initiative in WWF that's the 2-degree science-based target initiative. It's an initiative that where we engage companies to maintain the climate warming to 2 degrees. So we engage them to implement actions to make to aim that there is no more than 2-degree warming. So that's a kind of engagement that we do with our partnership, and that helps to face the climate change. Yes.
I have a question about different labels and certifications in the field of CSR. Do you sometimes push your partner companies to obtain certain labels? I think you mentioned Carrefour and what you do in the field of fishery with them. For example, I think you have probably tried to encourage that they work with certain labels in this field.
Yeah. Of course, we actually WWF promotes some label like FSC for the forest, like MSC or ASC for the fishery. So with Carrefour, we work on the fish, and we try to push them to purchase only with products that that have a label on MSC for the fish, for example. So yeah, WWF really promotes this kind of label.
There are many questions. I'm very happy about it. Sorry, Pauline, because
No
I have a
problem.
lot of things to answer to. A lot of questions regarding the example you mentioned with Michelin, which is really exciting for our participants. And some people would like to know how your experts from WWF worked together with the experts from Michelin to know what are the good ways of producing this natural rubber that could be used, and what was maybe the advantage for them to work with your experts rather than hiring external experts. And maybe also you could tell us a bit if there were some difficulties in the beginnings when you have such a partnerships. I guess it's not always easy from the very beginning. I don't know whether you are able to talk about this as well.
Actually, yes, of course, this kind of relation between NGO and company is not natural. Maybe we can say this like that, because you have to be aligned on the objective you want to reach. So there is a long time of negotiation before you can you can sign an agreement for a partnership. And then when you sign it, it's really cool, because then you work together, you are a partner, to work together to reach the objective you have. And to answer your question, yes, we have. So we have people in WWF that are experts on their topic. For example, we have someone that work on the forest in WWF, and that is on the partnership on Michelin. So it is interesting for Michelin to work with WWF because we have a whole network. Actually, we are in 100 countries, as I told you, and it means that we have like hundreds of experts in each country that is specialized in the field of each of his country. So they are really expert for their territories, and we can bring to Michelin this kind of knowledge, the knowledge of the field that they don't have, that a normal expert wouldn't have, maybe, because we are many, and we can bring all together this knowledge and offer it to Michelin. So
I guess it's in particular important for multinational companies
Yeah.
like you, because you have the possibility to invoke your different national networks as well. But again, also from Audencia, I can explain that, for example, our IT services here, at a certain point, they wanted to change their servers because they have, of course, a huge environmental footprint. And at a certain moment, they were hesitating because there are so many environmental labels. And I know that they have called some of your experts at WWF that were saying, well, this label is really serious and you can go for it. And other labels are more greenwashing. So it's really also what I can notice from our partnership, that it's really a ongoing relationship. It's we know each other better, and we know us, the more we can also talk about difficult aspects and go more and further on the strategy. And what you mentioned as well about the difficulties, you said that you are coming from two different worlds. This is also what, for us in our education at Audencia, we try to integrate really, and to say that it's important that we have people from NGOs, but also trade unions or public authorities that are working together with our students, because when you learn that an NGO can bring added value as a student, maybe you keep it into mind, and maybe you learn their language, their priorities, and then later when you are a manager with having the possibilities to make some decisions, you will remember this, and then it's also something which will help you to create better partnerships or to make progress more quickly.
I think, yeah, it's very important for a manager to take a decision inside his company, to hear the voice that are not from the company only. So hear what NGO have to say. It's really important because they have another point of view, and they can really add value to your decision.
And if for the participants of our MOOC, if you think again about the test on the different skills, if you remember, there are three clusters of skills, and one of the skills that managers have to develop is to work collectively with different stakeholders. So it's, of course, a new skill that has to be developed, and we really would like to encourage you with this MOOC also to develop this. Two more questions about the kind of companies you work with. One is about, do you work also with smaller and medium-sized companies, not only the big names, but also smaller ones? And second question, do you work also with companies in the B2B sector, service providers, or do you mainly focus on B2C companies? Because you can guess that probably B2C, it's something which is more, they are more interested to work with you because the brand also is important.
Okay, so yes, we also work with a smaller company. Actually, we have a club. How do we say that? Club PME. It's PME is a company that have less than 50 million of how do we say, chiffre d'affaires?
Turnover.
No, of benefits.
Okay.
So we work with this company, just on their environmental stake also, and we, with this kind of company, actually we often have a sponsorship relation. Because they are it's French company that are very interested to have a local impact, and so they are interested with our programs, environmental programs that we have in France, and they are interested to finance it, to communicate on it. That's why we work. That's how we work with smaller company.
Yeah, and I think you just created also, and Audencia was part of it, a club of SMEs that are your partners, and also to create, because probably you will not be able to work in the same way with big companies and smaller ones, because your resources are limited, but maybe you can create clusters or groups of SMEs that work on similar issues.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about the B2B companies?
Yeah, we do work with B2B because Sometimes the aim of the company is to communicate on its environmental engagement and on the partnership, but sometimes they're just not interested to communicate on it. They just want to work deeply on the subject. So B2B company can be very interested to work with us. For example, Davigel, it's a French, it's a subsidiary of Nestlé, and they are B2B. So they don't have contact with final consumer, so they cannot really communicate on the partnership. With them, we work on sustainable fishing, and that's it. Yeah, it can work.
How do you avoid greenwashing? This is a question from Anna Maria. Because there is, of course, a risk. I think the Panda is one of the most famous brands worldwide, and with the best corporate or the best image, companies would like to partner with you also for this. So you explained already the fact that you fix a certain number of targets. But for example, do you exclude certain kind of companies or sectors? I think you have a blacklist of.
We do have a blacklist. In fact, it's like alcohol, pornography, petrol. Yeah, so we do have a blacklist, and even with our partner, to avoid greenwashing, it's necessary to have a strategy. So we work with them only if there is really an objective to transform their environmental behavior. That's a necessary point that we are that is included in the contract actually. And also we have a very strict communication policy that is included also in the contract, and that company have to respect. So I think that's, but you are never because we are in fact a very famous NGO. You always have to face attack from other NGO like Greenpeace, for example, and that's normal, but it's difficult to avoid.
Yeah. But I know also that, for example, you have at least annual committees with the CEO or the major partners of the company, and they have to explain what they did over the last year in order to reach the targets and so on. So it's not just you sign a paper.
No. There is really an obligation to show the result of the engagement. So yeah, it's quite strictly organized.
Okay. Yes, I'm really sorry that Kai Hockerts from CBS could not join us. Apparently it's a technical problem, so it's more a dialogue than a discussion with other academics, but most of the questions are really focusing on WWF. And there's a question about how we could move companies from those who see CSR as philanthropy, so just giving you money, to something which is more strategic. But I think you already mentioned that it's not possible. Of course, in your partnerships, companies finance your different activities, but you would not accept that the strategic partnerships also impose them to make progress on their environmental performance.
Yeah, exactly. But you mean to make them move from sponsorship to strategic partnership? As I say in the beginning, it's to show them that there is a business stake to engage in an environmental strategy. So that can convince them to move from sponsorship to strategy.
I have a question here from Karine who asks why you have this blacklist and why you say that you won't work with certain companies, for example, petrol, because they have, of course, major environmental impacts. So why do you refuse to work with them?
Because their core business can't be changed and they will always have an impact on the environment. So that we can't accept that, and we can't link the panda with this kind of company. It's too dangerous for us, and we are not interested to, because of course we could improve their environmental engagement, but it will never change the kind of activity they have.
So you could maybe, if one day you have a petrol company that says we want to finish our activities related to petrol and then go to renewable energies, then this transformation maybe could be a good idea for partnership.
Of course, that would, of course, that would be possible.
There's a question about the entrance for CSR in the company. Doesn't necessarily go through top management. I personally would say that it's not necessarily the case. I have seen a lot of companies where it could be a manager or an employee that really pushes forward the CSR strategy, but as you mentioned, you as well, at a certain point you need, of course, some kind of support from the CEO. If you look at CSR as an organizational learning process, you usually say that you need two kinds of supports. You need champions and sponsors. Champions are those who are actually doing the work, the people that on a day-to-day basis will actually try to change the business model, maybe create new products and services, maybe change the way how the company evolves. And you need the sponsor, which is usually the top manager or the shareholders, of course, that have to say, well, yes, it's really a strategic issue. We need to put financial and personal resources on this issue, and you can go on, even if it's difficult. We need to go there because it's really in the long-term interest, but you need both. I think if you have only the CEO of the company who is really convinced, but if he's not able to spread this over the whole company, it would not work. In the same way, I think it's not enough that you have just a good CSR or sustainability manager. And I guess one of the aims also of your partnerships is to have relationships with different actors inside the company. You mentioned supply chain managers. Because if you just talk to the CSR director, it's probably too limited.
Well, actually, we need to have contact with the person that takes the decision, the strategic decision in a global way. So we often start the relation with the CEO, and then we go to the supply chain officer or the CSR officer. Yeah.
We can maybe take a last question because we are at the end of the 45 minutes, and of course the participants of our MOOC, they may still ask some further questions on the different forums of the MOOC because we are also there, and our faculty and our team will of course reply to you later on. The last question is about the fact that if many companies are engaged to CSR because it's a way for them to make more profits, do you know that whether there's a tool how to calculate the financial impact of having a partnership with you or more generally on CSR? Are you aware of such a tool?
I don't know. We have never had this kind of question, but I know that it's a subject that researchers work on, the creation of value of the CSR engagement, and I know there are some tools to calculate it, but no, we never had this kind of demand.
Yeah. I confirm what you say, and we will have in the last week of our MOOC, which will really focus on the financial dimension. We will, of course, talk about these issues, and indeed there have been a lot of academic research projects trying to see the positive link between commitment to CSR and the financial performance of the companies, and more there is a consensus among academics that there is this kind of positive link, even if it's sometimes difficult to prove whether it's because the company invested in CSR that they have better financial results, or whether it's because they have good financial results, the result that they can afford a CSR policy or making good commitments in the field of sustainability. But there seems to be this positive link. But this will be more discussed in the 5th week of our MOOC. I really would like to thank you, Pauline Soudier from WWF, for having been with us, and
Thank you.
it's a great pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
We have also the videos on WWF on the CSR MOOC, of course. You can find them on our platform, and you can, of course, go also to WWF's website where there are a lot of information. And I think you just published also your new report on corporate partnerships. It's in French, but many of the participants of our MOOC are in France, and I guess you have similar things also in other countries. So thank you very much, Pauline. And as I said, we will meet again next week to talk about our partnerships, by the way. I would also like to thank all the participants of this first live sessions and encourage you, of course, to continue to interact also on the different forums of the MOOC. There are a lot of resources available. Don't hesitate to ask us other questions. And you have also a lot of persons that thank you, Pauline, directly. See you soon again, all the participants on the website, and next week for the next live session. The second week will be on HR policies, and so we will have a next session next Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.